So if you're on.
Okay,
Alistair should be voted.
Yeah, we are ready.
good afternoon. It is currently 5:05 p.m. on March 4th, 2026. And this is the District of Columbia State Board of Education working session. We're calling this meeting to order. The working session is being streamed live on the State Board's YouTube page for members of the public to view. At this time, we're going to call the roll to determine the presence of a quorum. Executive Director Butler, would you please call the roll?
Representative Chamberlain.
Present.
Representative Dinkins.
Present.
Representative Mosendar.
Present.
Representative Wardy. Representative Best.
Present.
Representative Chang.
Present.
Representative Olson.
Present.
Representative Henderson.
Present.
Representative Johnson Law. Representative Thompson.
Present.
Representative Williams.
Present.
Vice President Black.
Present.
President Patterson. Mr. Vice President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Executive Director Butler. We'll move to the first item of the agenda, which is the leadership report. Now, President Patterson sends his regrets. He got caught in some delays with some air travel, so I will try to recap the issues that I believe are going to be in his report, some of the key issues, because I know there's going to be some discussion about those issues, so I wanted to be able to do that right now, and then when President Patterson submits his report, it'll obviously then be available in your inboxes and you can review it at that time. But some of the key issues that we covered with leadership this past month was the testimony that was provided before the board. I thought Executive Director Butler and our president did a great job in both providing testimony and then responses at the council. We also had the ombudsman there and Office of Student Advocate who each provided testimony as well. One of the things that Chairman Mendelson did focus asking a lot of questions on was the issue of the state board authority legislation. I know Representative Williams, you wanted to discuss the strategies for submitting that. So as soon as I finish this report, maybe we can talk about the strategies in terms of reaching out to the chairman and advocating for that legislation to get a hearing and then hopefully move forward. The other thing that was discussed a lot about, and Executive Director Butler has really taken a leadership role in this, is trying to address the issues with sound and the internet connectivity that have faced us over the last few meetings. I mean, that obviously creates a huge issue. It seems like, I mean, both DGS and Octo were reached out to by Executive Director Butler right after the meeting. And they were kind of figuring out who was doing what with the contract, but it seems like the issue really is the unreliable internet connection with Octo. And that's something that we really want to try to get addressed. So did you want to add anything else to that, or are we just continuing the ongoing work with it? And the chairman also asked about that at the hearing. It was one of the things we put in our testimony as an issue that we're working to have addressed.
Yes, so I sent an email to all board members, saying that Octo DGS has. And there will be no hybrid capacity for March. Issued by our April 22nd.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks for all your efforts on trying to get that resolved, because it is an ongoing challenge. Then we had successful meetings with leadership. I think the meeting with the Deputy Mayor for Education was particularly beneficial. A couple issues that were discussed there was the issue of making sure we get the letter out on the attendance, even though DCPS has addressed the issue from the DCPS side. We wanted to encourage charter schools to also provide excused absences for any students that miss a class. You know, the Deputy Mayor pointed out that a lot of those schools had already offered hybrid options. But for those who didn't, we felt it was so important to do that. I think that was your letter that you had helped to get ready. So we discussed that with him and he was supportive. And then the last thing we talked about is just the ongoing discussions that we're having regarding the graduation requirements. And he offered to meet with us when we were ready to discuss those. And I think that'll be really helpful to keep that line of communication. And he was open to hearing the board's concerns and then working with us in a collaborative fashion to try to address any concerns that emerged from the work that the committee's doing. So that was a very productive discussion. We are meeting with Chairman Mendelson tomorrow, so if there are any issues that you'd like raised with the chairman, I mean, please let me know those now. I'll relay them to President Patterson tonight, so we can discuss them. And I know Representative Williams, you wanted to talk about kind of strategies for the legislation, advocating strongly to get a good hearing and to approve the legislation. So I mean, that completes the summary of the meetings, but I'm glad to answer any questions anybody has, and then we'll turn to Representative Williams on this issue.
Sure, and I would invite other members to weigh in too, because I do think we need to be clear about having a strong effective strategy. Essentially, right, just to remind the public as well, we voted unanimously on all parts of the state board authorities legislation, and we're asking for three things that we've worked on in committee over time that predates me and coming on the board. Then we had a working group that looked at those things as well. And we then had a council breakfast even after finalizing the resolution and the legislation, in which of the 12 council members who were present at the that breakfast, which many of the people here were there, we had almost unanimous support outside, but not the chair. Right, so there is broad support amongst the council, there is unanimous support amongst the board, and I think we need to be very clear in advocating for a hearing and then to also push for a vote, because, you know, we're the education community, in terms of the elected representatives of the city, are very united. So I just wanted to kind of open up to my colleagues any piece of evidence or what we think our strongest argument is to the chairman, because we've been working on this issue for a long time, and I think this is an opportunity to advance the work.
Thank you for bringing that up, and I agree with you fully on that. And just to add to what you said, you know, we did get pushback from the chairman at the hearing on the issue of whether we needed the data requests or not. You know, I raised the issue of obviously the kindergarten issue, one thing he brought up and said, well, even though you didn't get that, it was sent individually, but it was sent individually because they basically drug it out so that we couldn't send it in. I think what I pointed out was institutionally, this is something that's important. And then Councilmember Parker came in after that and actually gave two good examples of when this was needed, which I think was really helpful because he had the historical background on instances where they didn't get information in a timely manner. He mentioned issues on teacher retention, data that they requested on that, and then also information on the school report cards. And he put both of those on the record at the hearing. So that was really helpful to have that background. And I think institutionally, this is something we unanimously supported, and we want to give before the united front to advocate for these very modest changes in terms of our power. I think the other thing is with council, they talked about how sometimes they're, get pushed back too in terms of getting data in a timely fashion. But I think what council has that we don't is they have the ability to call hearings or even request subpoenas if they don't get information, which is something that obviously the board isn't asking for with this. We're just taking a very modest step to have a formal process for requesting data. So I think the bill is modest, and I think we're going to make a very strong argument to the chairman tomorrow. But I think it starts with a public hearing where we have the public be able to come in and speak about this important issue. So anyone else want to discuss the bill?
Yeah, I'll just add, the chairman knows this, he received a lot of testimony last week from public asking for a hearing on this bill, so just as additional context, it's not just us that see the need for this, but
Are there other agenda items for the chairman or recommendation?
I mean, I think as we're in the thick of oversight season, although I might have brought this up, I haven't been able to watch the hearings as closely as I would have liked. I'm curious kind of how we go forward the work of our committees with regards to two things. One, the support for induction programs and like supporting early teachers. I know the DME already has that work kind of in the pilot, and I'm curious how we can collaborate to be able to support it like in the next year. So I'm curious if that came up in the hearing. And then two, also just with regard to his role as oversight, we talked about some of the challenges with truancy and attendance. I'm curious what his thoughts are on next steps for us as a city on that issue, because we're still in need of a lot of interventions to be able to increase attendance rates across the city.
We'll make sure we add that to the agenda then. I mean, not surprisingly, he expressed concern. You've seen the hearing where he had DCPS and they're regarding the, progress they had that. So that we'd be glad to raise that with him and see if he has ways he would like to partner with the board or how we can help collaborate as we go into budget. That would be helpful. So I'll put that on the list. to discuss too.
We have board governance, insurance and attendance, and then a separate request for on the DMV here.
Well, I don't think it's a request. I want us to make sure that we're communicating that the work of our committee on educator excellence is to really move forward with recommendations and guidelines for supporting early for teachers. And want to just kind of get his sense on how, similar to what Representative Lewis said, how we can collaborate and what he views as next steps for that collaboration.
I'm sorry, but he is the chairman.
The chairman.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned, so we're sharing committee work.
Yes.
So that's what I wanted to hear. Okay.
That is the-
Make sure we focus particularly on that then.
I would just say all three committees do it because there's active work happening across all three.
Maybe we can provide an update. I know he may also be interested in the youth, we're calling them town halls, what do we?
There's the one pager, as you requested, in your documents, sitting right on the top of
Oh,
your.
good, but what's the name of it? Oh, Civic Leadership Summit, that's really great.
I know.
What a chart, and that was represented.
So he did.
I like it, it's what.
He wishes he came up with that.
Who did? Wonderful. Well, is there anything from anyone online that wants to discuss the leadership report? Or the meeting with the chairman? Okay.
I do want to add to the truancy and absenteeism. The city has, initiatives with some of the wards with, DHS in terms of pilot programs around attendance, so that's not all 8 wards. And looking at the attendance data from OPSI, we definitely need to see that in all of our wards, or at least most of our wards, based on the numbers. So
Okay.
curious about what the plan is to roll that out and expand it.
Would that be a discussion for the next DME meeting, you think, or with the chairman or both?
Well, we're already talking about attendance, so if you just want to note that, so that we can follow up in additional reviews.
Yeah.
We'd like to raise that.
And Eric, I still lose over a year after our meetings, right?
Oh, you do. I understand your notes. Thank you. And so, is there anything else on this topic that anybody wants to discuss? Okay, we'll move then to the renewal for our executive director's report. Executive Director Butler.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the DC State Board of Education. February was brief but productive month for the team. We successfully established a partnership with the DC Post-Secondary Success Collaborative. This collaborative unites professionals across the district who are dedicated to improving post-secondary outcomes for DC youth and residents. Members are invited to attend their annual summit on March 26th. Please check your inboxes tomorrow for more details. We also launched planning for our student-led youth safety town hall in partnership with Make the Challenge. There is a one pager with detailed dates and locations in your folders. The title is From Voices to Action Civic Leadership, Summit. That's the one page, and it breaks down what is happening. Next, I secured SBOE representation with the Attorney General's Office for our subpoena from Apple, and we're able to negotiate the burden on SBOE staff while ensuring compliance. So instead of 400 pages of subpoena responses, we only have to get 2 items. That was crazy. Additionally, staff prepared and submitted the agency oversight questions and testimony to DC Council. The SBOE team also secured access to the Washington Post for all members, and we are finalizing the contract with the New York Times for our sale. Once we have those, we'll provide an update for members. Looking ahead to March, our organizations are scheduled to be finished later this month. Yay! Yay! Our team plans to return to the Marion Berry building during the week of April 6th. What that means is we will have one more working session in this building on April 1st. We are currently negotiating with Okta to make sure our renovated space has sufficient IT infrastructure. Next, each SBO member should have received an invitation to attend the State of DC Schools 24-25 on March 11th and the DC Learning Acceleration Summit Thursday, March 12th, hosted by the Office of State Superintendent, City Schools Collaborative, and Empower K-12. I encourage everyone to attend, register, attend, and identify which enforcement support and available work happen. Lastly, thank you for those members who are scheduled one-on-ones with me. It has been wonderful hearing your feedback and ideas, and I look forward to engaging with all others students. That concludes my report. And I'll also go over the one paper at this time. In everyone's folder, you will see, the set of convening time, title, from voice to action, civic leadership, some student-led conversation, safety support, and policy solutions. You have an overview of the goals. And earlier, late last week, we met with Make the Challenge, and we decided, based on the time frame, to shift to 2 instead of 3 work-based events, but they are still segregated by boards. We are requesting that all the elected members attend the 2 youth-led workshops. We want the SBO members here. So we are finalizing locations. We do have dates, April 8th and April 29th. We'll be adding this to the shared calendars so that everyone will have them on their calendars as well. And these will be workshops led by students, not students facilitated by students with their peers. And then there will be a culminating town hall event, which is where the civic leadership summit title predominantly pertains to. It will be at Trinity, Washington University. On May 13th. So we have secured that location, we will be there, and the partners for that are, of course, the SBOE team and board members, Make the Challenge, Edtron, and the student app. The student-led workshops are just SBOE and make but the culminating event. We have additional partners that are listed. Okay, Jay, questions?
Yeah, very simple, just factual question for all these. I know they're gonna come to our calendars. Do we have tentative times for them of the 8th or the 29th? Just I assume they're like in the low afternoon, right?
They're from 4 to 7 p.m.
Oh,
That part.
thank you.
And we already booked Sumner for the April 8th.
So that information, you can share that word first.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, got that. Yeah,
Scratch that. Yeah.
because we have not shared that back, we're going to outreach, but that has to be confirmed with our partners. If they are actually looking to secure the space. I will say it was much harder to get into high schools. Yeah, we should not do that again.
Just tell them.
They won't let us have events without security. They won't let students in after certain hours, so I don't recommend that we go to school route. I think libraries, community centers, something else, but like that was an investment trying to identify location. We said, oh, this is a half day, who's gonna pay for security? We can't let students in without security in the building. So just for future reference, we want to make sure that we make note of that for future events.
I just want to thank you for all your work on this and then also Representative Bass. I did cover the meeting. I was meeting with you. You and your team have done an amazing job. And Representative Bass is the one who's made this happen. He's taken it from concept to something that's just really tremendously exciting. So I just want to thank you for everything you've done on it. And, is there anything else you want to say about this? You're the one who led the youth training event with Mecca there. So.
Yeah, the youth training event went really well. We had a great turnout. The students were really interested in it. They were engaged. And so I'm excited, definitely excited to have the support from the SBOE team. They really have taken on like leadership from it, now. And so, yeah, I'm excited about what's to come. The ask is for sure, if you all could be there, the elected members, that's gonna be very, very important. And honestly, I think the success of this rides on it. And so, they are hoping that, they present, we listen, we learn, and we take action. And so it will be very important that we do have a good amount of support from the SBOE.
I remember we also committed when we had the council SBOE breakfast, that we would at least let the members know, in case they wanted to attend and what's their, even for their board. So maybe we should also reach out to council and just make them aware, because they may want to come and listen to the youth speak as well, or be able to send staff if they have conflict. So I think just the more we can elevate this, even the more people hear the voices of the students, the better. So we'll make sure we follow through on that promise. Reaching back out to council. Is there any other questions for Executive Director Butler on her report? Or on the civic leadership summits?
We look forward to working in the world with the new space.
Yes, definitely. Okay, well, wonderful. Well, let's, from there, then let's move on to the, next item on the agenda, which is the, item 5, the February public meeting panel debrief. The panel, as everyone will recall, was, entitled Beyond the Diploma, DC Graduates Reflect. And I thought it was really helpful. Now we can get a variety of perspectives, some positive, some expressing the challenges that they faced after graduation. So I think we had a good mix of people with different experiences. But I thought it was useful. You'll see in your package, you have a summary document with the key highlights from the panel. So if that refreshes anybody's memory and there's any questions anyone has or action steps, let's discuss those now. So anything that you think we need to do following the panel. I know that Brett, that like dovetails in everything you're doing in your committee, but is there anything you want to add to that, Representative Henderson?
No, I would just say that this is helpful data for us, additional data points to hear from recent graduates on specific items that we're considering recommendations. I also thought it was just really encouraging to hear from students who have found success through various pathways, and yeah, certainly it will inform thinking about the recommendations.
Any other further line or from the room? Okay, well, thank you, everybody. We'll move on to Roman numeral 6. The next item on the agenda is the public panel topic discussion for May. So is there anyone who has an idea? Do we have anything in the queue right now?
It's all script.
It is. Should
Yes.
use your script instead of ad lib. See what we have in the script. Okay, so it says we will now move to the public panel discussion. At last month's working session, we voted high school graduation requirements recommendations for April. Oh, so we don't have anything with you. We will now discuss May. As a reminder to members and the viewing public, at last month's working session, we did discuss potentially having the May panel on physical education to align with our upcoming work to update those standards, but we decided not to vote in case something else came up. So we have then, as a reminder, which is good for me, the physical education discussion, if we could have as a panel topic. Is that still in alignment with the timeline that we foresee coming down for the standards? Okay. All right. Is there anybody else though who has anything other than physical education they would like this panel topic? Oh, let's set a record here. Okay. Well, then, I move then that we have a vote on having physical education.
Guys,
No.
Is it just, oh,
Oh, really? Serious?
yes,
Yes.
All right, yeah, okay, well, please, record, Representative. Williams is voting no.
Yes,
All right.
there's someone online who has,
Did you have an alternative panel?
no, I just don't think we should make that decision yet, and so, and I don't have a better suggestion, but, I think that there's a lot going on in our city right now, and something might come up in the next month that could be a little more pressing.
I may have missed the opportunity, but key question, is there ever a time when you do not have a panel?
Whenever the board decides not to have, there is no policy that there must be a panel. That does not exist.
We could move, if members wanted, we could move, postpone this. I think the only challenge then is we have to give staff the time to get witnesses and experts in who can speak about the topic. So the benefit of looking in advance is to give staff time to get the best people to come to the event. But at the same time, I think there are potential issues. May I ask though, are we seeing any issues with the fact that we can't do the online capability with getting experts for our panel? Our next panel in March.
One of the things that came across in yesterday's session, with Octo is that there are definitely some issues. Some are hardwired into the equipment and some other things. And there's just no guarantee they'll be able to fix that by our March meeting. But they're gonna try their best to get that to us and ready up and going by April, but
The reason I'm just asking, and I'm not saying we should do it, but if we had experts lined up that were in DC, if we wanted to testify virtually, we could always consider moving that to April, but that may then put us behind the schedule.
yeah.
The committee's looking at.
But if April is high school graduation requirement recommendation, I'm assuming that Representative Henderson and Representative Johnson, those would be local. Speaking also on the committee, those would be local people, like we wouldn't have asked unless you all have outside experts testifying to your recommendations. So I assume that April would be.
So you're satisfied with it being local?
Yeah, and for the March, we have,
For the March panel, we have 3 people confirmed so far, 2 in person. And 1, they were still looking at whether they had availability, so I will notify them. But most of the people we've discussed are DC based, so I don't think it will be an issue.
Fantastic. I'd like to note that Representative Johnson Law is in attendance. I'd like to just, so if you can report or vote on this, I'd like to just move for reconsideration of vote.
And
So
there was a comment online by Representative Thompson,
I can't see the online.
I know, she just.
No, for a moment it froze and I couldn't hear. So I was asking if it was frozen for anyone else, but we're back now.
I'd like to move a motion to reconsider the vote, for the sake of being able to record Representative Johnson Law's vote. So moved.
A second.
Second, okay. Motion to reconsider, so now we, all in favor of the motion to reconsider the vote, say aye. Okay, I'd like to move for approval of the panel, by voice vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Also, Representative Williams is voting no. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll then move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the committee reports. We'll begin with the administrative committee, and I'll discuss several important issues that we talked about in the administrative committee. We started off by looking at the issues that we experienced at the last meeting with the technology, and you don't want to have an embarrassing situation where we can't have people who have taken their time to come speak, not being able to be heard. And, we really were proactive. As soon as the meeting was over, Executive Director Butler reached out to make sure. Oh, I didn't even have this. I don't need, but I appreciate it. So then the other 2 issues that I wanted to discuss, though, that I thought were really important when we talked about in the admin committee were the KPIs. So each agency has what are called the key performance indicators. And these are measurable metrics that show like their workload and their success in implementing issues. Like one such example of what would be a KPI would be like, let's say, we'll use Dan as a good example of this. The number of public meetings they pass each year. It would be something that could be measured over time. If we want to look at the ombudsman, it could be the number of like engagements, with constituents over issues that were resolved. So what agencies do is pick data that can be tracked over time. That's important for 2 reasons. One, it measures workload. So if we need additional staffing resources, you can see that if the number of constituent calls have gone up significantly. The other thing that's important is it also shows performance. So if you're seeing an agency that has suddenly a dip in performance, like let's say, well, we use Dan as an example, this is a fictional one, but if suddenly he stopped having community engagement events and we saw that his engagement events were going down, that would show that there was, potential cause for concern with that. So all the other agencies have KPIs. We're an independent agency, so we're maybe not required to have them, but it's good practice to do so. So what we did is Executive Director Butler is going to put together some, for her area. We're going to work then with the Ombudsman and the Office of Student Advocate so that each of the various offices then has, 3 to 5 KPIs that then can be measured over time. Now, these wouldn't be things that are one time, so it's not like with the graduation requirements task force or something like that. That's a one-time event, obviously not measurable year to year. So if you have any ideas for things that we should be measuring, things that you really think measure the effectiveness of our agency, please reach out to Executive Director Butler and we'll make sure that we bring that feedback into what we track over time. And all of this will then be public. It will be in the budget books with all the other agencies. And this is something that's we've been asked about in the past by the chairman, what our KPIs are, and now we'll be able to probably say for the final budget book that gets set down, we'll be able to add what our KPIs are that we're now tracking. So that's something that I think is going to be really important. The other thing Executive Director Butler has done for us is created a dashboard so that we can track the issues that we committed to in our strategic plan, so that every member will then be able to see month to month, particularly the committee chairs, I think is most important for, to see what we agreed to get done, and then to see whether we're, like if we've started those, if we're on track or if we're behind. So I think that'll be a very helpful tool that Executive Director Butler has completed. We'll review it in the admin committee, and then also we can bring it here if there's things that we think need to be discussed. But mainly it's a tool for committee chairs to be able to stay on track, because we spend a lot of time putting that strategic plan together for the agency. And I think we want to make sure that we follow through on the issues that we've committed to. So that completes the admin committee report, as I remember it. Just that the renovations are going to be completed by mid-March, which will cover that. And yeah. Great. Any questions on the admin committee report from Mr. Henderson?
The dashboard, is that an internal thing or?
I think we could potentially do it either. I think it'd be really exciting to, since we did vote on the strategic plan and all that's public information. I think it would be interesting if we posted it and we tracked it. But I'd be interested to see what if other people want to put themselves in hot seat like that. But I mean, I think it's good. I think it's a measure of transparency and accountability for the board. And it'll inspire us to make sure we get done what we said we were gonna get done. So I would be putting it up online, but I don't want to speak for everybody on that. Everybody may want to check it out before we put it out there.
That part.
But yeah, I think it's a great idea.
But I will say, thank you for the compliment, but it is not yet. Yeah, we get the goal to have it you all a day for working session, but to present it to the admin at the March meeting.
Well, we got the framework set, so we'll be able to share with you as soon as it goes through admin. We'll share with you then before the working session, and then once we get a final product that's ready for it to be posted, we'll get but thanks to Executive Director Butler for getting this moving along in that. Anything else on the admin committee report? Any questions? Any questions from online? Okay, terrific. We'll move on then to item B, which is the College, Career, and Life Readiness Committee. Representative Henderson, do you want to take it away, or Representative Thompson?
Representative Thompson.
Hola,
Okay, you can hear me?
I can. Good evening. For the College Career and Life Readiness Committee meeting, we had our meeting Wednesday, February 25th. All members were in attendance. We also had Representative Colson with us to address the attendance issue. Biggest things we discussed, of course, were the attendance and grading policy, which was brought up at the last working session. Representative Colson did share a memo with us, which I think was pretty helpful. Uh, Putting all in one place her thoughts around students who are marked present. If they are only attending a small portion of the period, I'm going to be very clear. We're talking about like a class period in middle school or high school, not the full day policy. Um, we are charged with the committee as a whole, with help from Rep. Colson, is charged with further research into how common this issue is, what policies currently exist at the SEA level, and where there might be variance at the LEA levels. Representative Colson is going to lead this in particular, and we'll look forward to talking about this at a future meeting, likely not the next meeting, but we do have some runway and some clear next steps. Second, artificial intelligence. We need to coordinate with Representative Best because since there have been some committee changes, he's no longer on our committee, and we need to figure out the best way to move this forward. Like if there's anything else for the committee to do, or if it makes sense to vote this out of committee for the fuller board to engage in at a certain point. But I expect at the next meeting, the next working session, we should have a decision. We also followed up on high school graduation requirements work, which of course is our biggest piece of work right now. At our next task force meeting, we will have that meeting in person, and it will be the first meeting where we will begin to make final committee recommendations. We also talked about the timeline for the graduation requirements work, which means that we will actually make some shifts around meeting in April. We expect we may have 2 meetings in April in hopes that we'll be able to share with the full board in May. The committee also discussed results from the public meeting feedback survey and what we've heard from constituents, including Representative Johnson Law, having some more feedback about the practical studies diploma. And then finally, we are continuing to coordinate site visits. We did have a visit to Coolidge already, which was really informative, and we look forward to going to River Terrace and IDEA soon.
Okay, thank you, Representative Thompson. Is there any questions for Representative Thompson tonight?
I have a question. So just based on the facts report, and the high school graduation requirements act course committee meeting report. So the timeline is still that you all would be working on recommendations with the task force, and then the board still needs to take action on those recommendations, correct?
Correct. So we would have one of the reasons we're looking to have multiple meetings and move from one meeting a month structure to get us closer is for the committee to put together its recommendations. We are expecting in those recommendations, we will be sharing both places. Well, I know maybe I shouldn't say both. We will be sharing places where maybe we have consensus, places where we have a majority, and places where there might be minority opinions. All of that will be shared with the committee and with the board before we then say this is a product of the board to go to OSSI. And so our goal is to have that ready for the May working session.
Thank you.
Representative Henderson, do you want to add anything? Yeah. Do we have any other questions either here or online for? Yeah, Representative Thompson, we have Representative Williams with the question.
Yeah, so, Representative Thompson, I don't have any questions, I just want to, I appreciate the like scope of the work that the committee is doing, and I just want to say publicly, to Representative Colton, like, I really like how you're taking on these concrete, practical things that you see every day in schools. And, with regards to attendance now serving on the task force, I'm happy to collaborate with you on that, because I've served in both like charter schools and DCPS, and I've seen the difference in policies there. So I appreciate you bringing up this issue along with the intervention issue around attendance, and bringing some urgency and light to this, so I'm happy to collaborate with you on that.
Fantastic. Well, hearing nothing else, we'll move on then to the Educator Excellence Committee. Representative Chang, can you hear us online?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Go right ahead.
Our updates. Thank you. Thank you, Vice President. Our main one is that folks should have a draft of the resolution that Dr. Johnson Law moved forward through our committee that we would like to vote on at the public meeting. And so just want to confirm that that is in your inbox. So that's one. And in our work on early educators, we're finalizing the SOW with the staff. Many thanks to Jen, who I know had to step out, but thank you to Jen and Taylor and the rest of the team for that work. We are moving that forward, and we'll have more to update on once we have that partner selected.
All right, thank you, Representative Chang. Are there any questions for Representative Chang at this time?
So I just want to be clear, SR 26-3, this has not been voted out of committee, correct?
No,
It has not.
It has. Yes, it has.
Perfect.
Perfect. Any question, and we'll come to that when we get to the new business. We're gonna then go to the public meeting agenda. So any other discussion on the committee report from Representative Chang? With the understanding we'll get to SR 26-3. Okay, all right, hearing none, let's move to my favorite portion of the meeting, the Student Advisory Committee presentation. So take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. In attendance, we had Isa, Perry, Nyla, and Satara, and Representative Brandy Best. And this was the 6th SAC meeting of the school year with about 33 student members in attendance. So our meeting was pretty straightforward. We had our members break into groups to continue work on our research projects, which has been our main focus throughout the entirety of this year so far. This month, members finalized how we will advertise our studies and surveys for participants, and also how we will collect data. At our March meeting, we're going to review participation rates for those surveys and also think through final steps before we analyze that data. Also, we had Representative Best in attendance, and he provided updates on the state board's youth convenings, which are now called Civic Leadership Summits. I'm a big fan of the name. He then answered questions from the SAC members, including details about what volunteers' responsibilities look like and what outcomes would come out of these summits, followed by another call for student volunteers if anyone hadn't signed up at our previous SAC meeting in January.
Our next SAC meeting will be held on March 9th, so if anyone wants to join us, please feel free. And then between now and then, committee members are going to continue to work on research projects offline with their student representatives and research assistants.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Any questions for our students?
Is there an I'm sorry.
We're going ahead again.
In terms of the research projects, is there an anticipated timeframe when we will be completing that?
So the collection of data should be finished within, hopefully by the April meeting. Fully finished by the April meeting. During the April meeting, we'll probably begin a analysis of that, and then hopefully we can make something out of it by May. That is my ideal intent. Yes.
And is that the results of those research projects, would they go into like a final report of some sort?
Yeah, SAC report, yeah.
Okay. And that's supposed to come out when?
May?
I think we work on it in April, May. Yeah, I think it's June. Like June, we have
it'll be finished.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, anything else for our students? Any further questions? Okay, we'll move along then to item E, the Student Experience Engagement Committee. I do not believe met this month because of the shift in the new chairman. So to see, Dr. Paulson, is there anything you would like to just add about the upcoming meeting or anything you want to discuss?
Yeah, the upcoming meeting on the 11th, and we're looking forward to it. That's all for them.
And I will get to you the information on the trailer piece, which I talked about at the last working session for the meeting, so you can get so. Getting that to you, we'll be double with the meeting.
Well, if that's the case, I'll give a quick commercial as well and say that coming, we're going to continue our discussion on the early warning systems related to chronic absenteeism for our students who are identified in middle school and how we can continue to support them as they transition.
Fantastic. All right, terrific. Look forward to that. Any questions at all for Dr. Paulson? Hearing none, we'll move on then to item F, which is, are there any external committee reports that anyone would like to discuss today? External committees, anything that Executive Director Butler, you doing to staff? Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Johnson Line, you can see your hand.
Question, because I know I just got appointed to an external committee. When do I get that information about how to?
Of June the 7th.
Thank you.
Not an external committee, but it was an external meeting. Representative, President Patterson and I attended the King School Strategic Planning Session. That was co-hosted by the Coalition for Community Schools at American University. Until they are having a part two to that meeting in March. But so far, this initial session was really looking at what the landscape is, if that makes sense, and what's stopping sort of a broad range of investments in the community schools across DC. I think it was helpful to have someone check the manager's office there as a part of the meeting, and also representatives from United Way, Nationals Capital, and CIS, Nations Capital also. Both who are currently going to middle schools for.
Anything else you want on this agenda item? I'd speak now or forever hold your peace. Moving on. Now, at this time, we typically could take a break, but I think we've been very efficient. So is there anyone who would like a break or shall we keep on moving? All right. And so we'll then move to new business and other discussion. I'd like to ask if there's any other items for new business that anyone would like to add to the new business agenda. We right now have two items. One is SR 26-3, calling for a statewide framework for special education instructional best practices. And then B is an item I actually asked to be on here. I was thinking this was something else because of the way it was titled, but I'll discuss that when it gets there. It's changes in volunteer requirements. So this is something that I just wanted to kind of flag for people, see if anybody else has seen anything similar. See Representative Johnson Law's hand and then Representative Best.
I would just like to add inviting members to recess.
Okay.
It'll be really simple, but fast.
Okay, great. Representative Best.
I would like to add potentially, and I'm sorry if I'm doing this wrong, but I know we passed the resolution on Civics Week before. I would like to move or to make another resolution to have Civics Week be the week of the Civic Leadership Summit, the culminating town hall event.
Okay, fantastic.
Well, not town hall, excuse me, the culminating event.
All right, terrific. Any other items for the new business agenda?
I would like to put on new business agenda us revisiting some of the safety work in the past. We've tried to at least check in once a year around this, and so I want to make sure that we have a plan moving forward because that normally happens as we start to get warmer, like June, July-ish.
Okay. I've got that on there. Anything else that anyone would like to see? Okay, we'll go first, then to item A, under the new business discussion, and, I think I'll turn this one over to Representative Chang and then Representative Johnson Law. As committee chair and then as the, introducer of this resolution. SR 26-3, is entitled Calling for a Statewide Framework for Special Education Instructional Best Practices. Representative Chang, do you want to discuss this? It was voted out of committee. And there's a copy in people's folders if they see it.
Yeah. Thanks. Sorry, my I just want to confirm I haven't seen it in my inbox, but has the staff sent it around? The resolution?
There are hard copies, and then there's also a copy online
Great,
in the SBOE meeting materials.
great. And is Representative Johnson Law with us tonight? If so, I would love actually if she was the leader on this. So we voted it out of committee, but would love her help to talk about it.
Hey, Representative Page, I'm here.
Thank
I was
you.
online earlier with you and now. I'm
Thank you,
here.
thank you.
You're welcome, welcome. First, I just want to say thank you to Representative Chang, Representative Henderson, and Representative Williams for collaborating with me on this. We talked about this initially in November, and I wanted to thank the different panelists that were able to come to our working session. It was really nice to have like a small panel and committee. I really like that structure. I honestly think we should have more of them. And again, just to the board, just thankful for all of you and your support with this. And again, this is really just trying to provide a framework, again, statewide for all of our teachers so that way we can better serve our students that have disabilities. Again, we know that there are different things out here about this. It would just be really nice if we could have like a stance from the board about this particular issue. I know that there are a lot of nuances to special education, and there are many different issues. But this one resolution is not meant to solve the entire problem. It is meant to just to give another tool in the toolkit to say, hey, like all of our children are all of our responsibility. SPED children should not just be with SPED teachers, but we should all have best practices and just basic knowledge of certain special education rules and policies and procedures to better serve all of our students with disabilities. And so I don't want to take it away from Representative King, but if there are any questions, I will take them. And then just for a staff and clarifying point, executive director told us we're not doing any citations yet. Like she said, we need to come here, right, first director. I'm referring to the email you sent us about.
Yeah, the process is the board votes it to be put on the agenda, and then our deputy director manages all the process, and she will assign it to staff, and they work with whoever to get all the correct citations. But yes, that is not something you want to have for staff. We'll get this straightforward.
Thank you. So if there are any questions, I can take them. Mr. Vice President, if that's okay.
Any questions for either Representative Johnson Law or Representative Chang on SR 26-3? Representative Williams?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but Dr. Johnson, I just want to say thank you for continuing to prioritize this issue. And you know, as a teacher or practitioner both at multiple schools, like I know firsthand this is a critical issue for students every day. So I'm looking forward to kind of narrowing the scope of it and seeing what do to kind of influence policy and group training. So you know, I think this is a good first step and a last step, but I'm committed to continuing to work with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative.
Are there any further questions? For Representative Johnson?
My question is on Representative Williams' question is that, and so in terms of next steps, does it really think about what happens next? If there's a goal just to pass resolution, if you all want to report this to anybody, that we just curious to what happens next. Or what sort of what the plan is to happen next to do, because I think the resolution is one part, but like how does this get shared out? Do you want this to go to?
And I'm still working on that with Representative Chang, and we're trying to flush the things out, and once we flush it out, we can share.
That's the thing, once it's voted out, the committee is no longer their meetings work. That's what I'm trying to like,
So,
is it, does it go to the policy team, is they working on that? Which is fine, we can do that, I just wanna know what it is, so that they can be fully aware too.
And then Representative Williams, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I sent along in the email chain, I'm not sure where it is with us just yet, but I do think it's important, like. At this stage, to continue to engage OSSI on that, so I had asked that it be an agenda item on a leadership meeting. With Dr. Mitchell and OSSI to kind of see, how, they were thinking of collaborating with us. I don't wanna make any recommendations that we don't have the like capacity to actually implement, so I think it's important to like engage them at the stage. To see where we could best collaborate. It's something that we've talked about with them previously, but it's also something that they have the micro grants going on. However, at our meeting, our leadership meeting with them in December, when we talked about the micro grants, there's so few teachers that are voluntarily joining the micro grants that I think we need to figure out what else can be done to ensure that all general education teachers can serve all students.
So I'll wait my 2 cents on this. I mean, I think I completely agree that we want to continue that outreach. If you figure out what the next steps are, I think we want to, meet with OSSI, as you first talked about, and share this draft with them and see what the reaction is. I mean, I think this is in really good shape. Personally, I think it's ready to be placed on the agenda. I think if those discussions then, generated, significant changes, we could always come back and then revisit whether we want to wait a month. But I think for now, this looks like it's really good to go. And those discussions, we can then work over the next 2 weeks to get the answers that I think that you're talking about. Representative Jensen Law?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I do have a question, and I was talking about this Representative Chang, but I guess I can just ask before. I was thinking about how you all had the event around the literacy, when Representative Chang finished that. And I'm just wondering, like with the different summits that we have, maybe we could have like a special education summit, like hosted by the board, and we bring in, like general education teachers and sped teachers and those in the special education space to really talk this resolution over with them. Of course, we have OSSI there, but to really figure out, okay, like, how can we really get this done in real time? Is that something that would be possible, maybe, again, not now, but just maybe something over the summer, or maybe like right when school starts, maybe it can be like a school kickoff event from the board or something of that nature. I'm just thinking about staff capacity, but I thought that was a great model that you all did for representation. I wasn't elected then. I don't know. It was really great, and I thought it would be a really nice model to get maybe do something similar here.
And I think, one, I mean, this is one good idea, it's a fine idea. I think that the thing about is making sure that what the what is. Because one of the things about when we did the literacy mixer, it was after legislation had been passed by the DC Council. And we were able to then use the legislation as a lever to get feedback from the kindergarten teachers who were going to be getting the first round like that literacy training. And so I do think I think we just have to think of the mechanics so that it lines up. I mean, I don't think it's an issue of staff capacity. Because it just needs to be planned out. I think if you plan it enough time, that's not an issue. Unless you're saying you're trying to do like it in April, that would be.
No. I want us to get through the grammar terms first.
Yeah, so like, again, if it's something that we're putting on the schedule for like early fall or something like that, I think you have more time to work with the full board around what the purpose would be and what you want to get out of it, so that there's alignment from the resolution to the action to the event. That's not a problem. I just think that it's just a matter of making sure that people have those discussions.
Quick question, to you, Executive Director Butler, can we send the draft of this, and you're comfortable with it, like it, with the citation and everything? Can we send it to OSSI to get their reaction as soon as possible? So that way maybe they could redline it for us and maybe put any questions in there, and then that'll give time then Representative Johnson Law, Representative Chang, then react to it. If OSSI's got any feedback that would be helpful.
I mean, that we've done that before with other resolutions.
You should be open to that. I think that would help
Yeah.
address what Representative Williams said, which is.
Well, I did, we will share with them this week when we send over the other agenda items for feedback after the next week.
Like, if we give a draft ahead of time, then maybe be prepared to discuss it at the meeting. And just, because I would love to be able to get their feedback before we finalize this and vote on it, so that'd be terrific. Okay.
Representative, I just want to say, I know this is a perennial issue for us, and like, what do we do with our resolutions, but. I think it's also valuable just to say, we've done research, we've done engagement. We want to put this recommendation out, and then once we pass it as a resolution, then it becomes something the board has signed on to, and then we can that. So, even if it's not something that people have to go next year, because sure. One possibility is we can't do any new things because of the budget, but I think it's still worthwhile to put it out and say, do you think this is good practice, we should do this. But if that is something that we can refer to when we testify in the future, it's the voice of the board behind the specific set of recommendations.
Any further questions or comments on this one?
I'm sorry. I know it's hard to see the people online. My hand's been up for a little while now. I so I agree with the spirit of the resolution. I guess I do have some questions just about what is our intent to have OSSI do all the defining for us, or are there certain things that we have a very strong opinion on and guardrails we want to see?
Like, is that Representative Chang or Representative Johnson Law? You want to answer that question?
I'm just hoping that this could be a really strong meeting moving forward and Aussie come to help us get this implemented. And again, if we need to have accompanying legislation to get this done, then again, we can talk about that, that's fine, but.
Maybe I'm not maybe my words aren't exact enough. I'm not necessarily suggesting an alternate path. I am asking, like, so for example, um, when I read this, like, uh, one of the whereas references North Carolina and robust training opportunities that they provide, right? Which is specific, but I don't know a bunch about the full suite of training opportunities and if they necessarily, like, if Aussie picked up exactly what North Carolina was doing, and said this is what we're doing, if that would meet the finally be it resolved through 1 through 6, or like guidance on universal design for learning. I think this is important. I would imagine that Aussie would also say it's important. I don't know though. I guess I'm asking, do we already have, similar to the North Carolina example, do we already have thoughts on what it should be that we should be including in here? Or are we saying that, are we assuming that we agree with this level of principle or with Aussie, and they should define what the practices should look like?
So the North Carolina is an example, and I was giving citations, but I was told that I have to wait because we have to vote it out. Two, I sent the committee about like how this could really look. There was an additional document that I sent to the committee to figure out, okay, like, what can this do? What can Aussie do? And again, this is our view as the board. And so it's not to say, hey, let's do what North Carolina is doing. It's to say, hey, this is a good model. Let's look into it. And again, a lot of those different points are in another accompanying document that I gave the committee. If it's helpful, I can share it, plus you, I can share that document with the full board if that's helpful.
I guess, maybe, I feel like I'm hearing like your response is different from the questionnaire, and I think Representative Thompson's asking. Like, for example, with the North Carolina, like, is it the recommendation that the board is putting in the resolution is that we're telling us that you should do what North Carolina is doing and follow this, or is there a different set of practice, or like, is there a more specific set of recommendations that you all have. Does that make sense? It's like, if you
Yes.
want the OSI to follow exactly what North Carolina did, like whereas OSI should then there follow the example set in North Carolina and do A, B, C, D. I'm sorry, I haven't read off of it. Or you're saying, whereas we reviewed the North Carolina thing, and this is what we, the board, recommend as the action, or components that OSI adopt. Maybe you read the North Carolina thing, and maybe it's 2 or 3 specific things you think that OSI should adopt.
That's that part.
Yeah, and so, and if it's those 3, I think you want to know, like, where are those specific things, recommendations that we want OSI to do? Or all those in the, or all the things in 1 through 6 are what North Carolina does, that you want OSI to adopt?
The way I'm reading this, you hear on lines 47 through 50, we're urging them to develop and disseminate this plan. But I think it's good we're not specifically citing, like saying, do it like North Carolina. I mean, that's a helpful guide,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't want to kind of pigeonhole, because there may be some things that we really support in that, but there may be other things that don't apply well in North Carolina New District. So I kind of like the way it's worded a little bit more generally here with 47 through 50. And then, when you go down to line 56 and 57, we are working to define what inclusive practices is for the district. So I think I prefer this general language, even though we do cite places where it's done well, because I think that's gonna be an ongoing discussion. So I think this is to emphasize this as a priority, emphasize the values that we're doing without trying to take it to a level where we're telling OSI, just do this, because I don't think we're at that point yet, and I don't think we should be at that point. But that's just my take on it. I kind of like how we've been more general.
I
Representative
want to,
Henderson?
sorry, I want to, maybe I should be clear. I am not asking, or clearer, maybe I should continue to clarify. I'm not asking as a critique. I'm also not suggesting one way or the other because I'm not on the committee. I didn't know there was another document. I'm literally asking for clarification. So as I read this as a member, I know what we are saying at the level we are saying it at. That way I could give feedback either way. And so I'm simply asking for clarification. At what level of instruction are we hoping to give OSI? And it could be a mixed approach that there are examples we would like them to reference and look at. It could be more general principles. I'm not suggesting anything is right or wrong. I am just assuming, just based on the amount of work that's been done and attention to this, that folks have good thoughts. And so I'm just asking for a little bit more insight into those thoughts.
North Carolina was meant to serve as a guide where it's, hey, like they're doing some great things here, we can take some of these bits and parts here, which were implemented again in another document that I shared in the committee to share with them. The resolution looks like this because of all of my thoughts here. And so again, I think it might be helpful to clarify for you all to share that document about my thinking and why the resolution looks the way it does. So can I just send that out to everyone so that we will have a clearer picture? Thank you.
Representative Henderson's next question.
Or comment another question. I think that the whereas that refers to North Carolina was in part a response to a comment that I made. And my intention was not to say North Carolina is the model that we should be following, but to say that this is something that state education agencies have done to have a statewide framework. And then my read that we are not being overly prescriptive in the finally resolved, but we are saying these are the minimum characteristics that we think a successful statewide framework would have, and leaving it more open for future collaboration to establish, what are the definitions, what are the practices that we want to have in that statewide.
Representative Williams?
I agree with both of those things. And Representative Thompson, to your question, I think we are still kind of at a place of, even after voting this out in committee, of like figuring it out, like what, but. The reason I'm so supportive of this, is because I think it's a clear statement that it needs to be a focus area for the district. And then, between the work that, Representative Dr. Johnson Law shared, a couple trainings that I did going through as a teacher, and then like the broader special education ecosystem, I think we could make additional recommendations to OSSI, so, but I don't think we're clear in consensus on that yet. But there are a variety of particular options, I think, so that's why I took the approach of kind of asking OSSI how we could collaborate and what degree they could, while recognizing that we have to do more or be more strategic about how we ensure general education teachers are trained to do this. I remember one of the main things, just for the group to know, is that OSSI essentially offers this voluntary micro credential for general education teachers to opt into this training. But when we asked in December what percentage of teachers have done this training, it was like 40 total teachers in the entire city. So like total. So it's without it being a requirement, which is also something we're not recommending here. We're not getting teachers who are actively doing the training if their school does not provide it or require it.
Representative Johnson, if you were to, say that,
The evening document.
you could say to the staff, we'll sit here tomorrow meeting about the action items.
Thank you.
Yeah, so those will go out, tomorrow or Friday, and we'll include that in the final books for this particular agenda item. Just so that everyone will see it, and at that time, also in the email, this resolution, if it is voted out here, will be in a SharePoint document so that people can add comments and edits.
Well, that's a perfect segue to the vote on this, unless there's any further discussion. All right, so at this time, I would like to move that SR 26-3, calling for a statewide framework for special education instructional best practices, be agendized for vote at the March 18th public meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, terrific. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the vote is unanimous, and that we placed on the agenda for the March 18th public meeting. Okay, item B, yes.
I know we voted on it, but I just had a thought, with this resolution, is there space, could it be possible to include language for substitute teachers? Considering that there are so many substitute teachers who serve long-term, and they don't get the same training that full-time teachers do often, but they're doing the same work. So I just would like to propose that for consideration for whoever is doing this at this point.
So when we send out the follow-up, it'll be in this document, it will be in a SharePoint file, so you can add comments and suggestions. And then when we meet with Representative Johnson Law to finalize, we will take everyone's comments from that into account. And so the staff will begin to, again, add research and citations based on the comments that members make.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay, so item B, I asked to be placed on here. What this is I received outreach from parents, with concerns that the volunteer requirements, the bar for attending field trips and outside events has been raised. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of what precipitated this, because we already did have pretty strict safety sensitive background checks and training for anyone involving youth, but this is and parents had to do that if they were in a safety sensitive contact with children. I don't know what's caused it. I wanted to just put this out there real briefly tonight to see if anybody else had experienced this from any of your schools. It really impacts school groups, but then when they go outside of the city, so you have parents then have to chaperone. It's very restrictive changes that I've heard. Now, this may just be Deal. It may be other schools, so I wanted to see if anybody else had heard anything on this. And Executive Director Butler is going to follow up with these guests and see if there has been an official policy change on it. But just wanted to put it out there that this is happening in Ward 3. see if anybody else had experienced anything similar.
And you're talking about outside of the city.
Yes, well, I think so. I think it was specifically for potentially overnight field trips, where they had a chaperone. Youth, but we're gonna try to get the full details on it and see if there has been a change, but I did get significant,
Yeah, I think that was gonna be my question for you, it's like, what do you think has changed? Cause
Something-
if I go and ask DCP as the policy, they can tell me the policy, I guess, I don't know if they're gonna tell me that's the new policy versus the old policy.
but that could be a fair point, is they may just be enforcing an old policy, but
I do understand there has been a change, or at least whether it's been implementation or policy. One of my, maybe Eastern's PTO brought this up. The reason they brought this up was because of a trip that was canceled. This is actually not why the trip was canceled. I just want to preface that. I'm sorry. No, no, it was the band's field trip to London, which didn't happen. But they assumed that's why it didn't happen. That's not why it didn't happen. We're not gonna talk about why it didn't happen, but um, I have heard that there are changes to the policy. Um, and I'm happy to double back and find out exactly what their understanding is. But so I'm not clear when this took place. I'm not clear if it's a change in implementation or actual change in policy. But I do know that there is some level of change to the field trip policy for overnight opportunity.
So I'll add context here. Thank you for sharing this. So this is DCP has recently changed its policy, so parents are no longer allowed to be chaperones on field trips. Significant effects it had with Yale Middle School, impacting the debate tournament, where they canceled the trip because they required 3 Deal staff to attend rather than parent chaperones. And then Deal's Model UN team also had to cancel a upcoming trip due to non-availability of DCPS staff. So it seems like they're disallowing parent chaperones to go on trips, even if parents have had the background training and are requiring staff to go. So it's very strange.
Yeah, I know that just from my individual school, like, parents have still gone as chaperones as recently as last week, so I think it's just important that maybe we reach out to like Abe Clayman about this and just get clarification on anything that may or may not have changed, but I think, hopefully might be able to supply.
She's gonna check.
So that'd be great.
So we'll report back on what we hear.
Yeah.
See if it's an issue that anybody else needs to follow up on, if it's isolated. So any questions or further discussion for me on this topic? Or for Executive Director Butler? Okay, let's move on then to item C. This was added by Representative Johnson Law. This is an announcement to invite us to a next phase of recess at the Capitol. So take it away.
Thanks, Mr. Vice President. Sam, definitely be looking to my students to be sharing this out. So March 13th, we're going back up to the Capitol. This is recess at the Capitol Part 3. We are going to the Senate this time because they seem to be they were very receptive. It was really hard in the House, and there are several bills that are affecting DC families and DC youth that are currently in the Senate. And so this is, the theme for this is protect DC kids, protect DC families. We just want to make sure that as they are considering these bills, that they are not doing more harm to any of our families or our children. Another different component of this one is we are having youth know your rights trainings that will be happening. Also, all youth, whether you attend the youth trainings, whether you do civic engagement with the senators, you will receive community service hours. So I don't know if anyone needs them or needs extra or a little more, but everyone will receive, every student that comes will receive community service hours. So if you volunteer, if you go to a youth training, if you go see the senators, it does not matter. You will get community service hours. I can share the flyer and the link with people, but again, just wanted to extend an invitation to the board. I know many of you were there the first 2 times and also online with us the last time in October, and so just wanted to extend that opportunity for you all. That's it.
Then does the March 13th date fall during the spring break of the students?
Oh.
What is that? So
School's out.
School's out, okay.
So next Friday.
It's next Friday, yeah.
Okay.
So we always, so we're strategic about this, we always plan a recess when school is out for students, so that way you all are able to come. We would never plan something where you have to attend school unless it is an emergency in a dire situation where everybody and their mama should be in attendance, but that's not, but we try not to do that.
And
School is
then I
out.
will say that's for DCPS schools, charter schools may not, yeah.
Yes, there are some charter schools who follow DCPS, so they are out.
Right.
And then there are some that are not. But the Charter Alliance is a partner with this, so they are checking to see who's out and who's not. But also because folks can get community service hours, there are some charter schools who are using this as a civic day for their children. So just come to school and they're either doing it as a field trip or it could be like a history class to be able to come up. So again, this is to every DCPS and to charter student. It doesn't matter where you go to school, you will receive community service hours.
Could I make a quick ask, is the student advisory committee, you meet the nine, would it be possible to farm this out to your members?
I think we could.
Okay, I was gonna ask, when the meeting was over.
We
I was
have our
gonna-
planning meeting tomorrow.
Okay,
That was the
so
time.
let's connect once this meeting's over, because I wanted to send you all, because there's a link to register.
I'm on it. Is it humanities?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so-
on it right now,
okay.
actually.
Yes, and there are
Okay.
different, because I sent it to Isa.
We can just make it a QR code. So-
Oh, I would say, do you all have, I can send you all the flyer too that has the QR code.
Oh, we
So-
can,
and I can
do
send
you
you the
think we
QR
can
code
print
too.
that? Okay.
Yeah, I'll connect, we're not gonna hold up the meeting any longer, but I'll connect with you all. I have the QR code that I can give you all. And also this time, there are shifts where it's from 10 AM to 2 PM. So there are shifts from 10 to 12, 12 to 2. So that way we have, just control traffic just a little bit more and people don't feel like they have to show up at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Representative Williams, it would be.
Yeah, Representative Dr. Johnson, thank you. I appreciate like your continued focus and leadership on this. I do think sending it to the SAC for them to give them to me on Monday to make sure that other students and then are aware of it, and then to SAC members could like to also pitch to take back to your schools to make sure that like it gets spread to other students. I asked for you and one of it is I know you shared the like the social media posts, but the stuff that you just told us, is that something that you could share and send around so that I could email that to my individual high schools?
The link,
Yeah.
the registration link.
The registration link and
I
just
sent
like you already sent it?
I sent it to you specifically, but I can send it to the whole board. If you all would like, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I don't know why I missed that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anything else for Representative Johnson Law on this item?
And we got a ceremonial resolution from the council.
I saw that,
recognizing this.
congratulations. So,
I just wanted to say thank you to the board because that wouldn't have been possible without the board recognizing it first. So just want to say thank you to everybody. And we're looking forward to your civics week, I think.
Congratulations.
It continues. Thank you so
Well,
much.
you're welcome. And that's a good segue into item B. Item which is Civic Week. Did you want to talk a little bit about this? Proposal on this week? Let me ask you a quick point of clarification, Executive Director Butler. Now the Civics Week, this might be something we want to send then to the C committee to get action on. I don't know that I can formally do that today. Am I empowered to send it to the C committee today, or we have to wait for our president to say it? So.
I'm not quite sure what the ask is, where we send you to the C committee.
Well,
Is it a request to?
Yes, it was a request to create a new resolution for Civics Week, which would identify the week, the first Civics Week being the week of that May 13th culminating event. So I know that we had a resolution that we had earlier, but now that's already passed. So we can't edit or amend that resolution, so we would have to create a new one. See, I listen. And so we would have to create another one. So I would love to see if that could be sent to the C committee so that we can have some action on that. Or is that how it would work?
Yes, that is how it would work.
Okay,
So yes, and I fully supported this, and I think that it makes sense procedurally and it makes sense substantively, so I'm fully supportive of this. I don't think I can formally refer it though, can I?
You are chairing the meeting, but.
So I have a power.
well, thank you very much.
But I just have a question before that happens.
Right ahead.
So the current resolution states that. So is there like a national civics education
Yeah,
week?
it is, and so that.
What is that?
That one's in March.
Oh,
Yeah, that's in 2
That's
weeks.
the national.
National, yeah,
Okay, so national, because I know the way the resolution is written now is that in June or July of this year, we will start planning for next March
correct,
to have a civic education week. That aligns with the national
Correct.
civic education week. And so this new resolution will be different in that it would be a local specific civic education week that. That's
so
about the same.
even with the, even with the first one, it's aligned on the date of the national. However, it varies a little from the national because we're focusing a lot on the unique, things the things that make DC unique with the Civics Week. But as far as this one, the thought process is to have like this as like the first actual like Civics Week event. So it would be like we would not, if this would not be the full on like working and integrating with DCPS and the charters, right? This will be like the first like kind of
It's a prologue.
there we go. Sure. I'll take that. But it's like the reason why we moved it to next year is because quite frankly, just timing, we didn't have time to,
And that was the reason why we did it, to have more leeway.
yeah.
And so now you're cutting the leeway down to 2 months.
Well, no, the difference is this would be just literally highlighting this event that our students are participating in this event. This is not dealing with the classrooms. So in the main one, it's incorporating things that would happen inside the classroom as well. This is paying attention or highlighting the work that our students are doing as it relates to coming up with solutions to challenges that are happening within their communities and speaking with local leaders who are civic leaders to come up with solutions to some of those problems. It also highlights a civics, we have, as you know, there's like a civics fair, like slash.
I know it's happening, I'm just, I think for me, I'm trying to first like. The event is going to happen, it will be advertised, there are like social media campaigns around it, there, like invitations, thank you. For all the people who will be there, so this is just a resolution recognizing what's already gonna happen.
So the way
Or am I hearing something else?
That's what I'm hearing, but I think the way I'm kind of thinking of it is like what Representative Johnson Law did with kind of highlight our work at recess on the Capitol that we did. And this would be highlighting, the work we've done this year on the Civic Leadership Summit. So we're kind of highlighting all the work that our students are doing this year as we prepare for the full-on synchronization of our efforts on Civics Week with the federal side. So I kind of view this as like a celebration of what we're already doing. I call it a prologue to the big event next year, but we're kind of focusing on what we're doing with our students in the same way that we honor recess in the Capitol. We're kind of highlighting our work in this case.
That's what I was gonna ask. So that's the ceremonial resolutions, where we acknowledge their work.
We designate this week as.
Yeah.
So it's.
The recess at the Capitol resolution that the board passed was a ceremonial resolution, it wasn't a state resolution. And so those have different bars to meet. And so that to me would be the distinguishing factor, because again, ceremonial was very much a celebration of all the work that went into recess at the Capitol. And all the, what came out of it, the students' work. And so I think it's just trying to distinguish whether, and I say, but it makes a difference, because the ceremony, it doesn't need to go to committee, it's a much lower threshold than a state resolution. So that's why I'm just trying to get us to talk
should be a CR. And then whatever form it takes, then there's no harm in the committee voting out a CR. That's the route Representative Best thinks is best. Or if we feel like, when we get into this, that perhaps an SR is necessary. So the reason I would like to just send it to committee is I think it provides them the flexibility to go either path. And then we can still keep it on the same track to vote it through. Whereas if we wait and we find it should be an SR, then we've lost the opportunity for the committee to consider.
You know what, I'll say this, I appreciate you fighting for it, I think that, I'm okay with it being ceremonial, for the simple fact that we know that the real, civics, this would, yes. The civics week is also taking place, next year, and that's where, a lot of the planning will be. So I'm totally open for it to be ceremonial, I'll lean on what you say, and if it goes to committee, then, I'll be there to connect with you and figure out what way. I'm open either way. I just think that it will be, really awesome to highlight all the work that our students are doing, because it is this event, but there's so much that we can share, throughout that week that leads up to what's going on.
Well, would you prefer?
I'm indifferent.
You're indifferent, yeah.
It's up to you,
If
but
you're- if you're indifferent, then let's keep it ceremonial,
Okay.
and then we don't need to refer to committee then, but the committee obviously is welcome to discuss the issue. If they want, on the agenda, but we can then move a ceremonial, and that will. Then nothing needs to be referred to committee.
No, Jim will just still take it and assign staff to work with Representative Best to get the language and all things.
Are you happy with that result?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, great.
Thank you.
All right, terrific. So, we'll move in that direction then. Okay, anything else on this item before we move to the item E? If there's nothing, then we're moving on then to, Representative Thompson wanted to talk about visiting, work on safety with summer coming up. Representative Thompson.
Yes, so I know that the C committee has had a very long list of items, and I know that school safety ranks on it. But I wanted to point our attention again to the resolution that we previously passed. Some of those items have been entertained at the council level. But they are most of them are things that are kind of perennial issues around safe passage, around coordination and collaboration between a lot of the different entities. And I believe the resolution itself called for a follow-up session, at least one, which we did do. But we kind of haven't continued to follow up since then. Maybe this is something to the point that was made previously in the meeting about kind of like just tracking our work, that would be helpful. And I am happy to, I can put in the chat, I'm not in the meeting, but if it's helpful, if folks are in front of their computers, it's SR 22-13, and it was passed in November of 2022. If folks need to see it, but I'm happy to like collaborate with the C committee to talk about like how we can continue to align and track this work, because it is something that comes up on a regular basis. I initially asked for us to have a panel and to work with the Student Advocates Office around this. When I had 3 shootings outside of 3 different schools in the first 3 days of school. Uh, and just seeing the lack of response to my community in particular, which I know is not necessarily unique, and is also not necessarily resolved. And so I wanted to just put that on the table again and see how best we can discuss moving forward.
I mean, one suggestion is we could, obviously discuss this with Deputy Mayor, and we have, and just to see what the plan is, but would you be looking for, we could have a potential analyst come in, or like, what are your thoughts on what next steps that we want to connect with?
Uh,
Your-
I'm happy to, I am happy for one of the next steps, for us, to have like a update panel. I thought that was particularly helpful, in the past. And I know that the Office of the Student Advocate has been doing ongoing engagement around this. The initial panel we had included the Office of the Student Advocate, the Office of the Attorney General, the Office of the Neighborhood Safety Engagement, and then some of the providers for Safe Passage, um, and for Safe Blocks. Um, I know since then, um, we've had some movement amongst deputy mayors, as far as where these initiatives fit. But I do think this is a ongoing and pervasive concern, and so I want to make sure that we have a plan just to continue to stay on top of it, especially as we talk about things like attendance, why kids don't come to school, like feeling safe is just the baseline. And so I'm happy to discuss a panel as one next step, but I also think it is important to outline multiple steps and checkpoints.
Is it?
I was just gonna actually ask you if we could put down, like we did last time, a placeholder potentially for a June public meeting. To be reminded that this may be a topic we would want to have follow-up discussion on, and then we'll also have at that time the information from our youth, because one of the things our youth are gonna be talking about at the I'm getting the term right, the following is now, the civic leadership summits will be their thoughts on safety and supports that will help students. So we'll have, if we do the June panel on this, we'll have the feedback from the students. We'll have, the C committee continue its work on this. A potential opportunity to discuss with the deputy mayor. So is it possible for you to remind us about this at the next meeting that Representative Thompson raised at this point?
But I would guess that is possible to answer your question. But my suggestion would be, one, to refer to committee, mainly because the resolution itself has a lot of different points, one of which, like, there's like several things you can literally check off the list. And it might be helpful to be able to see where all the different things are before a decision about a committee is held, so that by the time you get to a point of looking at the committee, you have all the information. You have, oh, has this changed since, the only reason I know this resolution, it was also the same meeting which the resolution to hire me was passed. So this is my first day for a meeting, but this is passed. I remember reading it, all to be prepared. But that was 4 years ago. But I'm saying it just may be helpful then to just, that way we can then, I think we can ask the deputy mayor about it, but I think it may need to go to the committee so we can know specifically what to ask him about of all the things that are in there, because it's not just one thing. Because there are some things technically don't even live with the deputy mayor of education anymore, that's issued to the deputy mayor for public safety. But in 2022, they did live with the DMV. So I think if we had a committee, they can get out something, that may be helpful.
So I don't think we would formally need to refer this to committee because it's already in the committee, the issues in committee, the committee is actively discussing it, right?
It's not, well, she wants like to go back to the resolution, like the discussion on the resolution, specific things that are in the resolution.
Okay,
I don't think the committee is doing that, unless I could be wrong, I'm not in those committee meetings.
it might be, but that's all right, out of an abundance of caution, let's refer to committee.
Maybe- May I make
Yes.
may I make a more succinct request? I understand that the committee does have ample overlap with these issues. And maybe the appropriate request is, I do not sit on the C committee. I'm not looking to sit on the C committee. It's just to maybe I get some time on the C committee agenda to talk through this resolution, and maybe we can come back at the next working session and say what next steps should be. Because there could be things that are already happening or designated in what the C committee would like to do. like some of the things that are happening with the students, and then there might be other things that will require different follow-up, like a panel. And so if you would like to refer the revisiting the resolution to committee, I'd be open to it. If it's just a matter of following up with the correct committee directly without a referral, I think either can happen.
At this time, Representative Thompson, we can do both. So I was just talking with Representative Colson. She's agreed to put this on the agenda of the next C committee meeting for discussion. So since we don't know where that discussion might take us, I'll at this time refer the revisiting and the looking at SR 22-13 to the committee. So the committee may consider that as part of that discussion, or may find that it's not necessary. But that way, it can be discussed, and if the committee decides to act, it can proceed at that time. So I'll refer any further revisiting of issues of SR 22-13 to committee, and it will be on the agenda for discussion before the committee, when the committee meets. So, do you know the date of the committee meeting? Dr. Fletcher? What? Okay, great. So this item will be on the agenda for the 11th in the C committee, Representative Thompson. Okay. Anything else, Representative Thompson, on this issue that you'd like to discuss? Anybody else?
No, I think this is helpful. Thank you. I will note. I'll follow up with Representative Colson. I don't know the timing of the meeting, but I do have a funeral on the 11th. And so if possible, we can coordinate so I can share things in case I'm not in attendance.
Okay. All right, wonderful. I think that's all we have for new business. Are there any announcements that anybody has? Any announcements? Going once, going twice, not hearing any other announcements under other discussion, so we will then move to the adjournment. Yes. All right. Let's run.
Motion
All
to
right,
adjourn.
I want to thank everyone for your time and engagement tonight. I've got to.
I'm sorry, I'm missing.
No,
Don't.
you're getting ahead. I have to get the photo.
You got the script. I'm sorry. I was being silly. I'm
I
sorry.
have it here.
But-
That it's very important because Executive Director Butler wants us to promote our website, so we have to do that. So members of the
Absolutely.
public can visit SBOE.dc.gov before our next public meeting to learn how to submit and present testimony. So our next meeting is going to be March 18th, 2026. All public witnesses must submit a written copy of their testimony to our staff for the public record. And how many days must they do that to sign up before they
The sign up list tells us 48 hours.
48 hours in advance? Well, for everyone listening online, 48 hours, and please sign up to speak the 18th. So seeing no further business before the state board, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Representative Johnson Law. All right, can we get a second for Representative Johnson Law's motion? A second, multiple places, but I heard Dr. Colson first, so the motion has been properly moved by Dr. Johnson Law, seconded by Dr. Colson. The motion is to adjourn the working session. All in favor, say aye. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the working session is adjourned at 6:48 p.m. on March 4th, 2026. I figured that way.
I want to know. You're still being televised.